All right, peace. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Revenue Show, a show about business concepts to help you grow and scale any business model. I am your co-host, Malcolm Bowser. This is the other co-host, Andre Trust, and we thank you for coming back. So this week we're going to talk about a couple of different things, mainly about how to navigate business when necessarily you're doing things or you're being pulled in different directions, which seems like a good idea to other people as far as growing your revenue and things like that, but don't necessarily align with actually what you do, right? So before we even get started, I want to start something to kind of drive home the point that Andre and I actually are business owners and we have day-to-day things that we do that we actually do in business. So I'm gonna ask Andre how his week, well, his previous week went with his businesses.
Okay, gotcha. You know what's crazy, bro? Is like every time I try to keep like a journal of like things that work and things that don't work
Yeah.
because like I feel you owe it to yourself and all of the people that you're going to be in contact with or all the people that's going to work for you or that you're going to have relationships with. You owe them the information that you have.
Right.
I try to collect all of this. And one of my founding principles, bro, like I don't ever lower my prices ever. Like just ever. Like, and it's not to be rude or anything like
Right.
that, but a lot of my business are commission structure business,
Mhm.
right? So I'm not going to compete and fight, right? It's either you need my service, you would
Right.
like my service, you've heard good things about us, and you're gonna utilize that service, or you're not going to, right? And it's not going to be a race to the bottom. That's where a lot of entrepreneurs make mistakes at. They allow it to be a race to the bottom.
Right.
I'm not going to allow it to be a race to the bottom because I have employees, I have staff, I
Mhm.
have people that I have to take care of. So why would I have it be a race to the bottom that just cuts into their bottom lines and all of the money that they're expecting to make? So this past week, man, I had a past client reach out to me. And I have systems in place and funnels in place, but he knows me, so he reached out to me directly.
Right.
And he's like, "Hey, what's going on, bro? I'm getting ready to sell my house, things like that." And I'm like, "All right, cool, man. No worries. I don't really do the real estate, but I'll hand you off,
Mhm.
to one of my, one of the people on my team. They'll take care of you, get everything organized." And then he gives me like demands. And I was like, okay, let me hear him out. He goes, "Hey, man, I know your percent is 6%,
Mm.
but, with this market going on, man, we're going to do it for 2%. And I'm not paying any other fees. You got to get somebody else to pay that." And I said, "Okay, cool. I completely understand, brother. I hope I wish you the best of luck." And, I hope you find somebody else.
Right.
And he was just very like taken back by that concept in the sense of like, wait, what?
Right.
Like, yeah, bro, I'm not about to sully my name or my business. I know what my team does.
Mhm.
We got you that house in the first place and you made $60,000 off of that deal. So if you're not going to respect the fact that we know what we're doing and we're able to perform in that role, then we don't need to be working together. Because the more and more you allow people to just itch away at the armor or basically just chink at the armor, it allows that race to the bottom. And I'm just not going to do it because now, if my original deal is 6%, right?
Right.
And I take the 2%, in order to make what we would make off one deal, I now have to do three deals versus the one. I'd rather but that one deal is going to take a lot of energy,
Right.
time,
Right.
effort. Somebody has to do that. It's not going to be me, but somebody has to do it. Right.
It makes sense.
So that then puts us in a predicament to work three times harder versus just being like, "Hey, man, now we're good to go." And then we just go find one client
Mm.
versus how now having to find three because everybody's on a race to the bottom. So I have to reinforce that this week and kind of stress that, like, hey, we don't ever race to the bottom, and I will never do so. And it's not a pride thing, but it's one of those situations where, as a business owner, the more and more you believe in your business, and the more and more your company makes as a product of how well you're doing your business,
Right.
it's a confidence thing. I'm just not going to allow you to take anything from our confidence at all. Like, you're not going to knock us down a peg or try to do X, Y, and Z or try to shop us or try to make us fight. I won't do it. You can
Right.
go do somebody else who doesn't respect their own business or doesn't respect what they're doing. I respect what I'm doing. I respect my employees. So I'm not going to have them work three times as hard for three times less pay.
Right.
No way.
Yeah, I totally feel you on that, and that's some audacity. Gotta respect it too.
I gotta respect this gangster. That was tough.
Yeah. So this week for us, this was well, last week rather. That was our first full week in our new office space. We're still getting some things that are trickling in. We're putting
Mhm.
up soundproofing and things like that, so you don't really hear echo when we do like our shows. But other than that, it was really productive because I don't know, we just seemed like more locked in that we're in an actual space now. But
Mhm.
and this week, well, last week, we also came up with a marketing plan to actually push more people to our membership site, and
Okay.
we're also like really knee deep into creating our first digital product, which I am excited about.
I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, like I am
You,
very excited for that.
you know I'm jumping on that YouTuber.
Yeah,
Matter of fact, let me not even talk too much. I don't even know if you're ready for them to have that yet.
yeah, man. So I'm ready for that soon, and I don't know. I spoke about this on before on my Instagram, but now I don't really listen to music anymore during my commutes. I just listen to like audiobooks and things like that. So I was listening
Mhm.
to like Grant Cardone, and he had me ready to just flip something. Like I was ready to just like every deadline I had, I shortened it by a month. I'm like, now we could do that in a month. You know what I mean?
This is sell or be sold or 10x.
No, this is be obsessed, be
Okay,
sold.
okay, okay. Got you.
Yeah, and like I said, like I'm with the productivity management that you went over last week, and just my mind state and things, I'm seeing where I can cut down time in production and things like that, and in editing videos or social media posts. I'm seeing where I can cut down time, and I'm like, yo, we can realistically cut these deadlines down we have for 2 months down to 1 month. Like we can get that done this month, and now it's just getting everybody on board, and everybody seems to be on board. But one of the things I will tell people is to understand, if you have a team, if you work with your family, you have employees, you have a team, understand who those people are. Meaning, we took disc assessments. You're familiar with disc assessments, right, Dre?
Yes.
Right. So we took disc assessments, and my disc assessment, I was like the air traffic controller, meaning like I'm really not by the book, but I'm really trying to keep everybody grounded, like make sure everything is organized in the way. My stepmom, she's like I think she was the flight attendant, meaning like she's great with customer service, helping other people, assisting people, and things like that. My pops is the pilot, meaning he just sees the destination. He doesn't care how we get there. He just sees the destination. So it
Okay.
was times last week, and this is about staying focused. This is times last week where he has these great ideas, but realistically, if we have these plans already in motion and things already on the track, those plans have to wait 3 or 4 months. You get what I'm saying? And we have to be okay with that. And you have to get your team to be okay with that. So that when I mean like knowing who your teammates are and your employees are, when my pops tells me an idea that he has, I understand that like he wants to do it, but like he knows that it's far off sometimes, and I just can't
Mhm.
be overwhelmed by it because I know I have a job to do right now. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So
So that's something, that's definitely something that I've seen before, like a lot,
yeah.
especially in our roles. So I 1000% agree with you because for ours, we have the visionary and
Mhm.
implementer.
Right.
Right. So I'm the visionary and my partner is the implementer.
Yeah.
Like I always reference him. You'll hear me. We'll probably have him on one of these shows.
Hmm.
But like, it's, hey Andre, what's the idea? And he just makes it pop out of nowhere, out of thin air. It's
Right.
it's ridiculous to me. I don't argue it. I don't question it.
Right.
I just understand that we have different roles. I run finances and the vision of where things go, and
Hmm.
he just gets it done. I mean, at an unbelievably high level that I can't even imagine. So
Well,
I
real quick,
definitely understand where you're coming from.
before we get started, how do you balance those two roles? Like the visionary thing, like I want to get this done, but you still control the finances, meaning you still have a real look at the books, meaning, okay, like I want to do this, but we don't have the real budget to get that done right now. So how do you balance that?
You know what's funny, bro? I realized that finances controls the vision.
Hmm.
that was it took me a while to really
Okay.
get that because I used to just be completely all right, finances. We'd come up with ideas and I would kind of, I have like a box. I always joke that, our office is the graveyard for a lot of markers.
Yeah.
But like literally like our whiteboard is always filled because we're always strategizing.
Mm,
So, but it wasn't until I realized that you cannot execute the plan without the finances to execute the plan.
mm,
So in order to be in tune with the vision, then you got to be in tune with the money that the company's making. So it only makes sense that if I'm propelling or thinking about the future of the company, that I would be the one that's also in charge of the finances. Granted, I have a background in money, with quantitative economics and stuff like that. It's heavily economics and money. So, but also on top of that, it just makes logical sense that if we're gonna try to get a building downtown, it's like the next plan is like the dude who controls like the understanding of where the money is going
right.
would be the one that puts that into action. And then
Right.
the implementer would actually execute the steps necessary to get there. And it's crucial for both people to be in step because one can't happen without the other.
Mm,
That's what got me is like, he's not doing things without me. I'm not doing things without him because we're working in unison and we allow each other to be engulfed in our roles, which makes us better.
that's tough. That's tough. So let's get started, right? So we're talking about um, sometimes where your business, and we talk about like new ideas and things like that, new visions, but sometimes that doesn't really align with what your business does. Can you tell me about a time where you were offered like a new product or something, offered to sell a new product, offered to implement a new plan that didn't really align with what you were doing, but you still tried it anyway?
Okay, gotcha. So a lot of times people really misunderstand a vision to a company,
Mm,
right? People kind of go into business, and I was talking to my partner about this earlier. People kind of just go into business for themselves,
right,
not understanding that you're not really in business until you have certain systems in place,
right.
right? So when you're self-employed, which is the same thing as a side hustle to me, right? You get into a space where money becomes the objective, not the mission, right? So money is now the goal. The mission isn't the goal,
Mm,
right? Which is the mission should be time control, understanding your finances, being able to get all of your time back as a currency. That's the goal.
mm,
But when you're fending for yourself and you need that money to come in, it becomes a matter of, oh, well, we need the dollars. So we're going to do what the dollars, kind of adjust.
man.
So my way of combating that is I always recommend you will hear every single thing on the face of the planet Earth. I do not ever recommend quitting your job until like until you're solidified. I
Right.
have a motto that I actually tell entrepreneurs when they're getting ready and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to quit my job." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Don't quit.
Mhm,
Your job should be your first investor, right? Because if you're logging 40 hours a week for your job, that's 160 hours a month,
mhm,
720 hours in a month, 720 minus the 160. You have plenty of time left over
right.
to do something different. So by allowing yourself to not be on a financial crunch, it allows you to stay on target to then move up the ranks of what's difference between self-employment and business and being like a true businessman or woman.
Right.
There's stages and levels to it. So allowing yourself to be in that state of not being financially burdened is very important because if you're financially burdened, your natural instinct is going to be survival. So when somebody,
People don't
so
realize
when
that.
somebody,
People don't realize. I was about to say that the brain only has really two functions: is to survive and to thrive. So, if you're a strapping entrepreneur, you just starting out, and you have really no capital, anything will sound like a good idea because it can like lead to some money.
that's 1,000% in fact.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that a million. I mean, we've helped so much because I told you I've been over the past 3 years. I've just been building up my testimonials. So I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs nonstop just to kind of, all right, is the stuff that I'm teaching working before I bring it to market, before
Mm,
I'm like, hey, I want somebody to pay for it. Does this actually work? Let's get some, once again, coming from, Quant Econ is data sets.
right.
So I was trying to get as much of a data set as possible to be like, okay. And every single time, I noticed that a business comes in under financial pressure, they fail. right? And it's not like, super financial stressors. It's just like, like I don't have the runway in order to, because business is all about the time runway that you have.
Mhm.
Every business is essentially the amount of time and consistency to make it happen. That's it. Time and consistency to make it happen. So if you don't have time, then you're not going to be able to be consistent. And if you're not able to be consistent, your business won't make money, which would then put you in a predicament to financially be like, oh, I don't know what to do. Now it's like, okay, where can I get money from at all?
Right.
Well, this company wants me, to sell tobacco. I don't sell tobacco, but
Right. Right.
hey, it's going to give me a check, so I'm going to sell the tobacco, or I'm going to do X. And it's no knock to anybody who uses tobacco. Is
No, I
first thing
know.
that came to my mind.
Yeah.
So that's one of those portions that I get really like
Mm.
adamant about, is make sure that you have a financial runway, and it doesn't necessarily need to be monetary runway, because you can go live at with your parents, or live with your buddy, or live somewhere where you can be consistent for at least 6 months,
Right.
right? So that financial pressure doesn't burden you down and get to you.
Right. When we were starting out, and we started out like on YouTube. We had a blog first, then we started on YouTube. And for people who are familiar with the channel, we started out doing a bunch of different types of content. And sometimes it was just straight interview based. Sometimes we were out on like location interviewing people and things like that. And then we kind of like zoned in on the podcast format. And I see that a lot with people who are starting out. They throw a lot of things at the wall, just seeing what sticks. And I'm not knocking that. I think that's necessary for a lot of different businesses
Yeah.
starting out. But I think there needs to be a singular focus at some point. And
Mhm.
even like last year during the pandemic, when people were kind of just more scrambling, even more, we kind of doubled down on our efforts and said, okay, we're going to do 2 shows a week now instead of one. We were doing one show for like 2 years straight, one show a week for like 2 years straight. And then we just said, all right, let's just go 2 shows a week now. You know what I mean? And during that time, we've gotten approached by different people for different opportunities, and some of them we took. And then looking back, it was just like, this is not our business. This is not what we
Mhm.
do, and this just doesn't align with our brand. And I felt like the longer we did it, the more it was just kind of hurting our morale as a company and as just a team. You know what I mean? When you don't do things that just align with what your
Mhm.
original goal is, and you have to know that original goal as well. That's something.
So I have a question for you then, right?
Yeah.
So as you were going through that, you said that you and your team started taking things. What made you realize that it wasn't for you, and that those opportunities weren't good for you?
So I think, be honest with you, I think we knew off rip, like, okay, we don't do this, but could be, it could be beneficial. But
Mhm.
the great thing about social media and being on YouTube, your community will let you know, right? They will definitely let you know, and they're not shy about it either. So we were doing some things, and somebody from our audience that watches us all the time was like, listen, I watch you guys religiously, and I really just don't understand this. Like, this is not
Okay.
y'all, and it seems forced. And when we got that, you're not supposed to take every piece of criticism. You're supposed to, because sometimes it's people that don't understand your business, don't understand your model, don't understand
Yeah.
what you're trying to do. So, those you kind of just cast out. But the people who understand and really are fans of what you do, or like real hardcore customers of what you do, you should take some heedance to that. And what that did for us, that forced us to kind of step back and really just be honest with ourselves. Like, okay, we know this is not what we do. We know this is like a reach for us. And what kind of
Yeah.
pushed that over the edge was the what we were doing just started getting a little taxing on our time. It started taking away from our main objective anyway. So it
Gotcha.
was a no brainer at that point.
Okay. That definitely makes sense then, because that's I've been approached a few times on a few things, and because we know exactly where we're trying to go, it's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, and that is way easier too, because we've gotten approached by major brands. Like I hit you up about one, and
Mhm.
at the moment it seemed great
And that was
until
and just to let the audience know, it was a major one. We won't say the name obviously
yeah,
for
yeah.
certain reasons,
Like I
but it
definitely
was a
spoke to you about that. Definitely spoke to you about that, and then it was just kind of like not right now. And that's another thing too. You have to know when it just isn't the right time because even like I'm looking back, that was a little bit before we even started our continuity product, which is our membership, which has been a blessing which is like really been a blessing, and it's really
Mhm.
helped our business grow even more. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yes.
So I wanted to know. Oh, I guess my question is like how, and this is just your definition, right?
Okay.
How when you see an entrepreneur, you see an up and start, entrepreneur, how do you know this person has a business or this person has a side hustle?
Got you. Got you.
Just from
Um,
listening to them, like, you know what I mean?
really. So, and this is funny. Once again, I like my partner and I have like deep debates about a lot of these things because as we're trying to get better,
Hmm.
one of the mottos that we have in the office is like it's not about who's right, it's about the right way.
Right.
So whenever we come in, we have like just deep debates and we'll go into like a battle about nothing. Or some days it'll be about something that's really important. So one of the topics that we did talk about is, side hustle versus like a real business.
Hmm.
And the truth of the matter is a lot of people don't know that there's a difference. Right. So there's several tiers, on the spectrum, starting out from, the base. And the base I would say is like employment.
Hmm.
Right. That's I work for somebody else. I don't control the paycheck, but I control the amount of hours that I put into the company, which is maybe 40 hours a week.
Hmm.
And then that paycheck comes from somewhere else. And then I go live my life outside of that. I'm able to disassociate time and work.
Right.
The one step above that is self-employment, right? Which is what I would consider a side hustle, right? Because it's still time associated with it.
Hmm.
You're still doing a task that requires time, that requires a pay, like a form of check from somewhere. The only difference is that you don't report to somebody, you report to yourself.
Right.
But the pain that goes into it, I would actually say, to be completely honest, right? I would actually say it's better to have an employment than it is to have like, than to be self-employed. That's
Yeah.
pain. That's painful,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like you're working for yourself. You don't have any employees, right? You're still associating your time with money being made. That means that if you stop working or if you stop doing anything, money does not get made. So therefore, time needs to be, you need to consistently be
Hmm.
involved or doing stuff or going harder or going harder or going harder. Right. And I would say that's tier one of business or just tier one in general.
Right.
I'd probably say tier two is a team, right? It's like you have a team around you. You're still at the helm. You're still doing a majority of the stuff, but you have a team around you, right? And those team members help you out, but you're still the main reason that the company's propelling forward. I don't think you really get into a business until you're at the helm, but others are executing the vision,
Mm.
right? Because then you're allowed to actually be the one in the visionary role,
Right.
propelling the company forward in the vision and providing where the company needs to go. Because clarity is the most important thing. You're going to always hear me say that, right? Clarity, increase the clarity, decrease the amount of stress that you feel in your life. I'm going to say that nonstop.
Right.
As the person that's in the CEO role, you don't become a business until all you're focused on is clarity for the company. Just clarity. And then everybody execute upon those tasks because they believe in the vision and the clarity of it.
Right. Right.
But so there's a broad spectrum now. We talked about being an employee to being, self-employed to being the visionary with others executing and systems in place. So I'm able to tell off the rip just based on, hey bro, like, you know, how many people work for you?
Mm.
And it's like, oh, nobody really works for me. It's just myself. Okay, so you're self-employed. It's like, no, I have a business, bro. You don't, because if you stop right now, is there? And then I'll follow up. Like, is there a system in place that if you go to bed right now, a dollar still generates?
Hmm.
No. If you decide to not work today because you felt sick or something was off or you felt like you needed to take a day to yourself, is a dollar still generated? No. Then, bro, you don't have a business. That is I would even go as far as to say it's that simple.
That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people.
It's tough. I've because I've had I've had a lot of conversations like, hey, I'm running my business. I'm like, hey, let's take a step back, right? Because but what I want to say is that I don't want to just be disrespectful to the process,
Right.
right? The process requires some time for you to be self-employed, then team, then business. That's how I started.
Right.
That's how 98% of businesses start. The issue is being aware of the fact that where you're starting and not being confused with where you're starting. That's the problem that I normally see a lot of people, because I work with some guys that are by themselves making like 200,000 a year. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's some good money, bro. Like, what do you do with your free time? And they'll laugh like, free time? I don't have any free time. And I'm like, you just answered my question. You don't have any free time.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any free time, how can you possibly progress forward? You're going to be capped at the 200,000. It's physically impossible. It's just not possible to make a million, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 without having a team around you. It's just impossible. You're going to be capped at the max amount of time that you can put in for yourself.
Right.
Then I'll ask, okay, so you're making 200,000. Why don't you have an assistant? Why do I need an assistant for? Well, if you added an assistant, they'd actually do more of the work. It'd allow you to visionary. It'll put you in a predicament to make more money, and now you could probably make 4. And it's like, that doesn't really make any sense. But I'm like, all right, like, but there's stages to it. So it's trying to get that across that it's not bad to start a self-employment or self-employed. I want to make that very clear. That's not a knock by any way. I started off as self-employed. I started off by having a team. Now I'm in a business, and I've progressed through the cycle of like, the business, because there's levels to being a small business as well that a lot of people don't know. Right? It's 0 to 250,000, like the first marker. Then there's breaking a million. Then there's a million to 5, which is like it's like the black hole of businesses is 1 million to 5 million. Right? Then
you did say that. You did tell me that.
Yeah, then it's just a black hole, bro. It's very difficult in that region. it's a painful region. And then there's there's double digit M's and those higher levels before you even break into being a mid-sized business, bro. Do you know to be a mid-sized, bro, you need like 35 to 40 million to be considered a mid-sized business?
Ooh.
That's tough. That's a hard pill to swallow, but these are the metrics. So the more we arm ourselves with understanding where we fit into the metric,
right,
then that's the win. Because my partner actually told me this one time. I don't want to butcher his quote. What did he say? He was like, if you don't have time, you're not rich. Having money with no time is just being a poor person with dollars.
I like it.
I was like, yo, that was tough. That was a bar. I should have had him say it. Yeah. But it was such a bar though, just in general, because that's the truth of the matter is like you're working hard for what? If you don't have systems in place and organizations in place and things in place. So I think that was a long way to answer that question. I get so fueled about it. It's like
that was dope and very insightful, because like I've even me at my stage, I've gotten better at kind of like when I help people with their business, I've gotten better at just kind of picking out like really glaring deficiencies on what they're doing. Right? If I'm talking to somebody and like, so what's your business? Oh, I customize sneakers. I'm like, oh, like you hand customize like every sneaker? Yeah, I'm just like, oh,
you're done.
Right,
you're done.
But I didn't start off just knowing that would be a problem. I through experience through like our t-shirt printing business, right? So if we run a sale and we get completely swamped and it's only 4 of us here to press shirts, and we only have a system that when we first started out, one shirt took like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Now it's really quick. It takes like 7 seconds now. But if we got swamped, the bottlenecking that from orders to getting them out to making, like, it was to the point we did not like getting more orders at one point because we had so many. And I think if your business cannot take more orders, then what the hell are you in business for? You know what I mean?
Then what's the point?
What's the point? Right.
So that's I'll be having to try to break individuals of that because my recommendation. So I have a motto too, right? So I have like these business tenets that I kind of live by, right? So the first one is that your first hire should be efficiency. That's like your first hire should be efficiency.
Right.
Because if you're not efficient, if you're not consistent, if you're not these things, then you don't have anybody, you don't have a system to bring anyone into.
Right.
The next thing should be an assistant, right? Then you should be systemizing a way to replace yourself. That's the real key. A lot of people is like, nah, I got to do it. I'm the only one. Imagine how egotistical that is.
No, bro, listen, I don't, you know what's crazy? I don't think it's egotistical. I think it's just like when you start off, you feel like the business is your baby, and like you are the only one that knows how to do something, right? So last week when you talked about like recording yourself and how you do a task and then just sending it off, that was brilliant. And it seems like a no brainer. But I had such a problem with just kind of letting things go. Like, okay, I edit my videos this way, or I do this way, and my pops was like, you gotta let that go because it'll free you up to do other stuff. And it was like, you're right, you're right.
So I can see that.
Yeah, like
So
especially like starting out. But when you what you just described was somebody making 200,000 and wanting to do everything in themselves. That's I think that there's something to that. You know what I mean?
like imagine how painful that
Yes,
is.
there is definitely something
Because
to that for sure.
whenever I start businesses up, like we had an example the other day where um speaking to one of our buddies, and they were like, hey bro, like why aren't you at the restaurant? And I was like, why would I be at the restaurant?
Mm,
He was like, well, it's your business, like why aren't you there? And I was like, bro, this is what you hire people for specifically.
yeah.
Like they fill those and it was almost it was I didn't understand it. I was like, why would he even be asking me that? I was confused by it,
Hmm.
but it didn't dawn on me that like that kind of makes sense from your standpoint or from his standpoint. It's, well, this is my baby. I've started this. Why would I not be there to nurture it?
Right.
Right. But the truth is that being there to nurture it is actually why most businesses die, because you're not able to allow people who want to be a part of it, right? Who want to be a part of it. Our managers want to be there.
Hmm.
They want to be engaged. They want to run the marketing. They want to do their job. And you being there literally just stifles their ability to perform and do the things that they want to do. You're actually hurting the business.
Mm.
So now there's difference between, and that comes back to the clarity that I spoke about earlier, right? The more clear you make the vision, the more they're able to execute it without you there. But if you're just saying, hey, I want you to run the company, it's very vague. Like, what do you
Right.
want me to do? Like, where are we going? Like, what are the metrics that we're trying to? So once you put those things in front of people and it's like, here, this is what you need to do. This is when I want to execute it by. This is how I want to execute it.
Mm.
How you execute it now, it's on you. I'll give you some creative freedom in that. My end goal is this. The starting point is here. These are my non-negotiables in the middle. Everything else is on you. It's like, how much more empowering is that to come into work and be like, oh, my boss isn't really a jerk. He
Exactly.
actually, when I have an idea, he actually really listens to me. It
Yeah.
just makes you want to be there longer. It makes you want to do more for the company. So that's why I always talk about like replacing yourself, because replacing yourself allows you to do more. That's that next phase of like, all right, well, I'm capped at 200,000. Well, how do you get to 1 million? Well, you need 5 of you. And now it's like, okay,
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's simple math. Right.
I need 5 of me
You're right.
doing the same thing that I'm doing at scale. That's how you get to I need 5 of me.
Right.
And how do you do that is you actually train, you actually take those steps, you actually put the pain in up front to do it. So that's where, once again, like I always have a soft spot in my heart for um, the new entrepreneur trying to branch out on their own. Because it's a tough time, man. It's a tough world. It's a very lonely place. I have a deep seated like want to help.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it because it's not a lot of people willing to even help? But I had several conversations. There's different metrics. Like, I mean, my mentor, when I started in business, he was like, Andre, how much do you make a month? And at that time, I was like, yo, like, we making like 6,000 a month.
Mm.
I said it mad confident. He was like, oh. I was like, well, why the all? He was like, bro, until you making 40,000 a month, you can't consider yourself a businessman. Get out my face. And he was playing around, but he was dead serious at the same time. He didn't mean get out of his face, but he was like, yo, bro, like, there's really levels. There's levels to it, and you shouldn't be afraid of those levels. That's why you'll hear me. I'll talk. I'm gonna talk big numbers on this podcast.
As you should, and
On the show, I'm gonna talk big numbers.
and I want people to like to understand. I want people to like to really like understand like you're really running. Yeah. How many businesses do you have?
I'm gonna keep it on. I lost. So I have the restaurant, I have the real estate company, mortgages. We're starting this up. I'm about to get my courses rolling. Um, it's like, and then I have the government contracting company that we're getting ready to launch out. So it's like 6 or 7 businesses
Yeah.
with like several different investment funds that I'm in.
And how old are you? 28.
Yeah, I'm 28, bro. Like,
So like some people might see it as like bragging and something like that, but like I really want you to understand. I really want people to understand that first of all, this definitely didn't happen overnight, and
oh,
then
not at all.
learn from a lot of the best business minds in the world to help you get to this point. And I'm definitely I'm a student. I'm one of your friends, but I'm definitely a student. So and that's why like I really am passionate about this show right here.
You know what's funny, bro? We had a reflection day the other day. So my partner and I tend to just take days to just reflect and talk. And like reflect, it's important to like reflect on the journey and like see how far you came. But I was a Marine Corps officer. I told you before on the last show, the aviation supply officer in charge of as well as like continuous process improvement, which is basically systems. Right? I just built systems for the Marine Corps. And I was showing up to work at 6 a.m. I mean, like, and I had to wear my Marine Corps uniform,
Right.
and it'd be 11:59. I'm looking at the clock because you get a 2 hour lunch break in our business because it's so taxing mentally. They give you a 2 hour lunch break to like really decompress. And on that 2 hour lunch break, bro, for 3.5 years, bro, I was sprinting, taking it off, throwing a suit on, driving 20 minutes to a different location and logging an hour and a half, then driving back for 3.5 years until I just got out. Like, you get me? So I always want to make that point as well as like Malk is right that none of this happened overnight. I want to make that very clear. A lot of pain has gone into Malk's business. A lot of pain has gone into mine. And we're going to continue to. That's why we're not here to sugarcoat any of this. If you think this is a show that's telling you, "Oh, entrepreneurship is awesome,"
Yeah,
you know,
listen, I have such a problem, and this is from me taking my lumps, right? I have such a problem with the way entrepreneurship is sold to our community, and that's why the side hustle versus business question is so important because a lot of the times what's promoted as entrepreneurship, you just literally telling people to trade in their job, which is a safe, stable job, into something that could really break them down financially and mentally because you're going to be working way harder than that 9 to 5 job, especially which whatever you're promoting is a side hustle. You know what I'm saying? And that
exactly.
really irks me. Like when you were earlier when you were talking about the race to the bottom, and there are YouTube ads that talk about like Amazon marketing and Amazon that like commodities and things like that when it's just like the lowest price wins, but you're running on the
It's
the rat
pain.
wheel, be like it is
The
frustrating to
word.
see, and the thing is like I would not have known this if I didn't experience these things myself. You know what I mean?
Because it's like running back, and I always talk about your journey. I'm so proud of your journey, bro.
Thank you, man.
Like I always want to give an opportunity to plug your journey because coming from how far you've came with the intensity, and you're not slowing down at all. In fact, you're really now kicking it into another gear
Yeah, yeah.
that wasn't even available a year or two ago. It's like
It's crazy.
people
Yeah,
forget that you've been doing this for 4 to 5. It's been like how long? It's been like 3 to 5 years, right?
yeah. It's
Am I
been
losing it?
5 years. 5 years. Yeah,
It's
and
been
I quit my
5
job.
years, bro.
I quit my job 3 years ago. But yeah, it's been 5 years.
You know, 5 years, bro. Imagine how crazy that is, and
Yeah.
how fast the time has gone. But now you look back, and it's like, oh, that time actually wasn't that long ago. It was just the other day.
Yo, listen,
But people don't understand that gap.
listen, I don't look. I really don't. I usually don't regret things, but I look back on the 5 years, and like if I'd have known then what I've known now. My goodness, man. Like, but the journey is the journey, and I feel like it was necessary because, uh, you know, and this we'll explore this in later episodes. But like everything we've done just taught us something better for the next thing we've gone and attacked, and it really was useful. You know what I mean? Like no, like it's none of it is a loss. All of it is a lesson. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I do want to piggyback off that and say that the goal should never be, don't misunderstand what Malcolm is saying, right? He's not saying that you should go out and learn in blood.
Oh no,
He's
hell
just saying that his experience
yeah.
was in blood. My experience was in blood, right? But that's why we bring in the show to you guys now, because you don't have to learn in blood. It's like you don't have to go through it at all. There's so much pain that you can avoid. Now, entrepreneurship is inevitable. Business is inevitable. You're going to experience pain. That's not, we're not saying that, we can hide and shelter you from all of it. But what we're saying is that we can help you have some foresight. Because I will say, yes, we logged those hours for 3.5 years, but, and my partner always referenced this as my greatest sales pitch. When we started our business, I did have the foresight of business in terms of like that there's tiers. I did have that. So when we came in, our original goal was like, yeah, man, we could each make an extra $15,000. That'd be awesome.
Right.
And it was I never forget it. We were sitting down and I'm like, hey, bro, I was just putting it out there. What if we just didn't take any profits? And we just stayed in the Marine Corps and we just focused on allowing that to compound. Allowing not only that, but think about how crazy this is. Allowing me to have all complete autonomy of the money. And then but at the end of this 3 years, I can promise you that we'll have assets, we'll have locations, we'll have this, we'll have that, we'll be able to have employees, we'll have X, Y, and Z, because we're going to cut the time because we don't need to feed ourselves, right? The main problem with businesses that start out is you need to feed yourself. So that cuts, if you're making 100,000, but you got to feed yourself 80,
right?
Then you only have 20 to grow. But if you're making 100,000 and all 100,000 can go towards growing, imagine how fast you can. Imagine how fast you can grow. So we cut the average time to get to the point that we're at in the different business models that we're at is 15 years, bro. We did it in 3. 15 years is the average time to get to exactly where we're at. 15 years of continuous pain, backlog, 15 years. And we did it in 3 years. And I'm like, this was the point I was trying to make. Right. Granted, I have an awesome business partner as a brother, and it makes it a lot easier when they're on the same page as you and they're on the same wavelength. So that wasn't. He always jokes that was the hardest sales pitch, but it wasn't that difficult. He was a very logical dude that made sense to him, so we rolled, right? But having that foresight up front, guys, I need you guys to understand that there are tiers, and you could save yourself pain by understanding that the tiers are there for you to progress through them, never to stay stagnant at.
Definitely. So, are you reading? Are you currently reading anything right now?
So the last I'm actually reading. So our favorite our favorite author just came out with his Courage, the new book Courage. So I'm definitely reading Ryan Holiday per usual. But I'm also I'm trying to decide which direction I want to go into in terms of reading. Okay. I've read so many business books that I think I'm at a point mentally that I'm starting to try to transition. So there is one book, I think it's called, I just ordered it. I kind of suck right now. It's like a 3-pack. But it was like Becoming Supernatural, I think.
Oh,
is
one of the good.
Yeah, just because I'm focused more on, I'm realizing how important mindset is. I've realized that for a long time, but I've never studied it. I've just always meditated and focused for myself. But now I want to actually study it and utilize those things to better service my clients, better service my employees, and better serve them and understand more that I can do for them. So Becoming Supernatural is probably going to be my next read. And then I'm currently reading, the GOAT, Ryan Holiday himself.
Courage is called Ryan Holiday. That's what I'm reading right now. I also just finished reading It's a book. It's a fairly short read. It's called Business Made Simple by Donald Miller, and he
You
also
said business
wrote.
made simple.
Yeah, he also wrote Story Brand that I showed you.
Oh, okay.
He
Got you.
wrote that as
Yes.
well. He wrote that as
Yeah.
well. So Business Made Simple by Donald Miller. Really good book. And he kind of just, again, some of these concepts that we talk about, he kind of just breaks them down into small bite-sized pieces so people can, grasp them and understand them. I only wanted to read it because I'm at that point where I really enjoy business books, like the boring business books. You know what I mean? The ones
Yeah.
that don't have the sexy name and are not by the flamboyant CEO and things like that. Like,
We talking about the textbooks.
yes, I still enjoy those because, like, the more I learn, and the better. But I do see what you're saying because I've now leaned some of my reading towards books about like the mindset, productivity, stuff like that, where it's not directly towards a business per se, but it help you long term. You know what I mean?
Mhm. I'm starting to realize it's one big picture that needs to be tied together. It can't just be one piece.
Yeah, you have to become the person that runs the business, not just you know
Mhm.
good at this business. You have to like really become that and be engrossed in that. And I truly believe it. You know what I mean?
And that's where, like, because so I had another I had one combo, forgot his name, man. He hit me up on Instagram. I feel bad, but either way, yeah, hit me up and he was like, "Hey, I want to start a business, but I don't have." He was telling me about the business he wanted to start. I think he was talking about like starting like a home care business.
Mhm.
And he's like, "But I have no business knowledge in the home care sector." And I was like, "See, that's where you're wrong at. You don't need to have experience in the home care sector. You need to have business experience because businesses all boil down to the same thing. Every single business can be ran off the same principles, right? What are the cogs in the business or cost of goods sold in the business? Are there any? What are
Mhm.
my expenses in this business? And who needs to get it done?" Right. So he wants to start home care. I'm like, "Hey, man, do you need to have a nurse's license or can you hire a nurse?"
Right.
Well, I want to hire a nurse, but I don't have any money. Okay, that's awesome. Still go talk to them,
Yeah.
right? I know it sucks. You don't have any money. That's cool. Have you even talked to a nurse?
Mm.
What if the nurse is just willing to do it for 3% of the company? And then you guys build it up together. We start going through the whole thing, and he's like, "Oh man, I could probably start tomorrow." And I'm like, "You can, bro." Like, because all business ideas stem from the same thing. And sometimes I come off as like it's simple, but it's really not. My goal is to get people to really believe in themselves in terms of business is a mathematical equation. Once we can get business into a mathematical setup, it is how do I get from point A to point B? There is a formula. That's not made up. That's not far fetched. There is a formula to business. There is a setup. There's a sale. There's her marketing. There's a strategy. There's organization. And once you piece all of those things into the equation, it comes out on the other side equaling money,
Got you.
right? So as we could piece those together, starting to realize that the importance of the mindset is one of those pieces that needs to be in there because if you believe you can't do something, then you can't do
Facts. Facts.
it.
So, guys, with that being said, my name is Malcolm Bowser. This is Andre Trust. This is the Real Revenue Show. Don't forget to add us on Instagram and Twitter. Our information is in the description below. And we will see you guys next week. Peace.